Next, I'd like to welcome to the stage Jannet Noremann, who is speaking on Compassion Will Save Our World. Janet's the founder of Canadians for Compassion, a social enterprise to unite Canadians in affirming Canada as a compassionate nation, one person, one community, one city, one province at a time. Formerly a corporate commercial lawyer, philanthropy director, and magazine publisher, Jannet was inspired to bring the principles of the Golden Rule and the Charter for Compassion to her fellow Canadians as a means of raising awareness to its principles, as a means of resolving social, ethnic, spiritual, economic, and political differences after hearing Karen Armstrong win the TED.com prize on this same topic in 2008. So let's welcome Jannet Noremann.
Hello. Compassion, that way of feeling into another person's pain that charges you into action to help alleviate their suffering and maybe just be with them without judgment so they don't have to suffer alone. Another principle is the Golden Rule, the foundation of a lot of our moral and faith traditions that says, do unto others as we would have them do unto you. We find it originating in the papyruses of Egypt between 1000 and 2000 BCE, when the human heart was the basis of Ma'at. The pharaohs of Egypt at that time believed that they had to rule in accordance with Ma'at, which represented the balance of power with compassion and humility, because if they didn't, at the end of their life, they wouldn't be welcomed into the kingdom of heaven. So as you see these advancing slides and you see the Golden Rule being translated in Judaism, in Christianity, in Jainism, why is there still so much suffering? In our world, we're compassionate, but why do we see it everywhere else? Daniel Goleman, author of Emotional Intelligence, talks about the predicament of our time is not that we're not wired for compassion, but that our focus is in the wrong direction. We're sorely, sorely self-absorbed with everything else that's going in our life. But what science has done is it's plucked compassion out of the realm of idealism, and in examining it, it's come up with some discoveries that may not be surprising, but the implications can be very profound. You take a look at the Heart-Mouth Institute, and they've actually measured that the magnetic field around the heart is over 5,000 times greater than that of the brain. And that when an individual goes into a state of compassion and grace, there's a coherence between the heart and the mind that resonates with the ionosphere of our own planet. And from a medical standpoint, when you look at the writings of Bruce Lipton, of Candace Pert, of Dr. Gabriel Cousins, even the forgiveness study that's being done by Fred Laskin at Stanford University, in all those instances, when compassion is brought into work either in the personal realm or in the outer realm, tremendous healing can take place. And they've actually documented cases of permanent remission from cancer, the cure of diabetes in 30 days, and a number of other findings. Compassion is also being used in social experiments such as Chicago, where they have found that by teaching compassion in the schools, the incidence of violence drops to absolutely nil. And business is getting on the bandwagon with us as well. Jim Collins, in his books, Good to Best, actually has studied all the most profitable and successful businesses and identified what makes a level 5 leader. And he says, aside from the management skills that we all learn at Ivy School and business schools, there are two key components. There is humility, and there's the ambition for a greater good. So as we look at what's going on in business and science, we go back to science, remember our dear friend Albert Einstein, who during the time of his great discoveries was also a great student and fan of the spiritual traditions. And he called it spiritual technology. And he said the future of humanity will need spiritual technology at the same time as it will require other forms of technology if we are going to succeed in this harrowing and possible journey to becoming one human race. So as we look to where we're going in Canada and how we want to represent ourselves as a compassionate nation, we look to who we are as Canadians, we see what's going out in the world, and where are some examples of where compassion and action is really, really making a difference. And I see us going 4,000 years from the time of Mat to where we are now in Egypt, where through peaceful demonstration, the people of Egypt decided that their Pharaoh was not living by the spirit of Mat, that the balance of his heart was not in balance with the greed and the corruption of their government, and they decided that they needed a new leader. In 2009, over 2,000 people from over 100 countries worldwide in 4 different languages participated in an exercise to develop the Charter for Compassion. Based on the principles of the Golden Rule, the Charter for Compassion is a document that organizations, peoples, communities, world organizations can come together to find ways and answers to resolve conflict and look at a new way to create a world, to save our world. In 2010, I founded Canadians for Compassion, and we are starting such exciting programs to involve compassion in education, to develop programs that work with business leaders in our community to identify compassionate companies, and create a way that we start here in London to find the ways that we can heal our world, save our world, and then we'll take that example out to Canada and the rest of the world. Please join me, because it's going to be a great ride. Thank you.